A three-time NBA champion is back with the 76ers. Who better than 36-year-old Danny Green to analyze the difficult situation between the Sixers and James Harden?
I said it's weird, but it's something that I've been through numerous times at this point now. I've done it in San Antonio with Kawhi, and I've done it with Ben when I was in Philly the first time around.
Danny's thoughts on Harden and more on his second time around, as we go around for the second time as well. Yep, we're back. Welcome back to another season of Fresh 24.
The Sixers lock all windows and doors. For the record! Yeah! Redick, can he get it off? And the putback turning garbage into goal.
Daniel Richard Green Jr. Is this my podcast or your podcast?
Yours, man. It's all yours.
Yeah. Because I know you're podcasting too, right? I
do. I've been doing it for 5 years now. I've been lucky and fortunate enough and blessed enough to have it keep going and have a good fan base in the cities that I've played in. And so lucky enough, I've also been able to continue to keep playing while I've been podcasting. And
why do you do it?
Great teammates. I get a chance to learn my teammates. That's one of the biggest reasons.
Okay.
I get a chance to learn the city. Also, I get reps. When I'm done playing, I think people kind of know I'm heading in the direction of maybe doing media. So it gives me reps. It gives me a chance to express myself, my opinion, also from a different landscape, so the fans can see an insight behind the scenes of what's going on in my mind and in the locker room that they may not hear or see because certain people don't ask questions in the media, or they just don't bring up the topic, or they don't really interview everybody in the media. They want to hear from certain guys, but not everybody has a voice. But it's good to use the platform as a voice on certain, big issues or political issues or things that may need to be changed, or even rule issues when it comes to our league and other leagues. So it's a lot of fun to learn my teammates, and it's great to have an opinion and a platform to be able to share my thoughts on certain things, and people actually respect it and listen to it.
Well, nowadays, with the invention of this thing and the internet, more than ever, you guys can control the message. How empowering is that? Very,
because so many things can get misconstrued or taken out of context because they take one soundbite, one clip, or just one action, and now we can actually speak on those things. We can actually give our opinion, actually what happened from our our point of view, our perspective, and control what actually was said, or your actual thoughts on things. And that's huge, especially in this era with the social media, because so many things, so many subjects are touchy, so many people, the world's a different place, and any wrong thing said or viewed, or even something that's used as clickbait can give you a bad name, bad brand, or just a bad way of people looking at you in terms of your city or your team. So it's very important, especially in a place like Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you a little bit about social media later on, about the haters. You're playing for Nick Nurse for the second time. We'll talk about the Sixers, of course. At one point, after an NBA Finals game, I think, or a playoff game, you had your life threatened. And the most important question is going to be, which throwback would you prefer, the Dr. J or the Allen Iverson? Don't answer now.
Okay.
But first, I want to ask you this. You're 36.
Yes.
How does your body compare now in terms of aches and pains to when you were 26?
Man, it's no fun getting old. I'll tell you that. And the fans,
by the way,
hear about
a 68-year-old guy's asking the question, so you have no idea what's coming down the bike.
It's crazy because people look at me as a dinosaur, and I'm 36. Just because in basketball years you're older,
right?
But I'm not old. But your body will let you know. So that ain't getting fun. It's not fun getting older. But in terms of what I can do, I'm very confident in my body of being able to move, get up and down the floor. The biggest thing, or the toughest thing, as we're getting older, is the recovery. So there's the soreness. It takes a little longer. And if you want to be smart about it, and if you want to make sure you can last all 82 in playoffs, which hopefully you don't have to play all 82. You want to make sure that you're maximizing and being efficient with your minutes. So you don't want to add above 30, above 32, above 35. You want to make sure you're not playing 30, 35 minutes a game, which I could do. I'm just saying consistently on a night-in, night-out basis. I don't think Nick is expecting to play me that much either. But it's just the recovery part of it, of doing the little things you need to do to make sure your body's right. And I was like, I can go out there. I might feel great that day. It's like, all right, Nick, if you need me for 40, I'll play at 40.
But don't ask me to play 40 in back-to-backs.
Like saying, so when you got 3 and 4 nights, or you got 4 and 7 nights, some stuff like that, you might have to take a game off. It's harder to recover and bounce back for the net. You might not have no gas. You might not have juice for the next games. So that's just the toughest part is when you get older, to recovery and be able to feel good in the moment and then feel good the next moment or the next day. You got to be smart about it. If I'm gonna use all my energy tonight, it's like, all right, I better have a couple of days off. Mm-hmm. That's why it's okay for playoffs. In the playoffs, it's like you're gonna have days in between, so it doesn't matter how many minutes you play. But regular season, you got to be smart with it.
Yeah, and back in the day, you'd play and then you'd practice the next day. I don't even do that anymore. Now you have the entire day off. But
it's a gift and a curse. I mean, I enjoy the not practicing as heavy, but it also is tough because you don't get a chance to earn your minutes in practice anymore. You don't get a chance to earn your spot or prove and show what you can do. Also get a different type of rhythm of doing it. When you're throwing as a game, it's like your first. I wouldn't say your first, but it's, if you haven't been playing in a while, it's like your first real physical entrance to that type of up and down. And you may think you're in great shape until you play. It's a different type of shape when you're on the court 5-on-5. Yeah. So if you're not consistently doing that, it's going to be a shock to you, shock to your body. And the only way for you to, I guess, receive or earn your minutes is by your play. You may have badly only playing a certain amount of minutes, and you might have an off night that night, and that could be your outing for what they see as what he can bring to the table. When it's not necessarily true. It's consistent every day. If you can see that in practice, what this person can do, I think that gives certain guys the opportunity, especially bench guys or non-rotational players, an opportunity to break a rotation when they had practice. But now, obviously, smarter. It's better for the body. It's better for the older guys. It's better for your superstars. But it's just tougher for some role players or non-rotational players to showcase what they can do.
Yeah, and speaking of load management, the NBA is cracking down on it now, where all-stars have to play in those nationally televised games. How do you think the players are going to feel about that?
I don't think most players will have an issue with it. I think most of the time players do want to play, and a lot of times it's the staff holding them out. I don't think it'll be an issue, because I think it's just the biggest issue with the league is you're resting multiple stars at a game. Now it's just you have to alternate. You can rest one guy tonight. You just have to be smart about how you rest your stars. You can't rest two or more stars. You can't rest all three of them the same night, especially on TV games. It's bad for our league. It's bad for the TV. It's bad for our fans. It's tough for our fans and our ticket sales and fan base. It's just these people pay a lot of money to come see us play. At least majority of us. If it was one night that guys, especially if he's hurt, it makes sense. But if he's not hurt and he needs a rest day, it's like, all right, pick one or two of those guys to rest, not all four. Like some teams have 3 and 4 stars, and sometimes they rest 3 and 4 stars, which is not fair to the fans.
Mm-hmm. Let's go and concentrate and zero in on your health in particular. May of 2022, Sixers get eliminated in Game 6 against Miami. You play 3 minutes, you tear the ACL in your left knee. And then you get traded to Memphis. You only played a handful of games with them. Same thing with Cleveland. How is your health, and what can we expect from you in the 23-24 season?
My health is great, man. My knee feels a brand new knee. I feel good. With the exception of being a little older and the recovery after just being sore of playing. But even when I was not playing in Cleveland, I was playing with the guys, like my team. We had practice. I felt good. I was moving. Even with Memphis, I felt good. I was practicing. Once I get my legs back under me now, going through preseason and practicing, I think I'll be fine. You can expect the same guy that I was before I left. I just think it's an opportunity to show that when I was in Cleveland. Memphis was short stint, but when I was in Cleveland, I get an opportunity to show that. But this year, hopefully there's plenty of opportunity. I think there is. Me showing that I'm back to where I was, or I could be back to where I was this year, health-wise, and I hopefully I can sustain that. And that's all in the medical staff. They do a great job. I've been with them before, so I'm familiar. So yeah, it's up to me and the medical staff of making sure I stay on top of myself, my body, and making sure I recover when I'm supposed to, and make sure no other setbacks that happen. But Health-wise, I feel great, man. You know, the knee is strong, leg is
Good.
strong. I'm able
Good.
to get up and down the floor. I'm able to slide defensively. It's just knowing the system now. It's about just getting back into shape and rhythm of playing 5-on-5 and being able to make shots after guarding somebody, run up and down the floor, and not touching the ball maybe 5-6 possessions, and then like be ready for that seventh possession of knocking down that shot. So I just have to get used to doing that again.
You played for Nick Nurse before in 2020, I guess it was. The Toronto Raptors won the 2019, I beg your pardon. And, we're going to talk about that Game 7 against the Sixers, the 4-bouncer, and what do you think might have happened in overtime. But how much of an attraction was Nick Nurse for you to come back to Philly for a second time?
He was the main attraction. And not to say that, obviously, it's a familiar place. I know the organization. I know the staff well. I loved being with that group. But having Nick there, and also seeing that there was some opportunity at the wing, was the biggest thing for me. It was like, all right, this is opportunity here where I will get a chance to hoop. It's not about the money, and this, for me, it's about being able, last couple of years, be able to hoop and showcasing that I can hoop, not just the fans, but myself, and just want to have fun and playing the game. So I think this was a group that I would have an opportunity to do that. But Nick was a big part of that, huge part of that. And he's one of the reasons why I'm there. He definitely vouched for me and, got Daryl to come to terms. But it's still a situation to where I have to make the team. I have to make sure I'm healthy and stay healthy up until January in order for me to be, fully locked in with the team. So, it's nothing I've never been through before. The work starts now, and I have to continue to, grind it out and, be who I was and who I am, and showcase that, night in, each and every day, coming to practice and games. So hopefully stay healthy and do what I normally do, and I'll be a part of a special group, regardless of what happens with James or not. You have Joel and Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris. You always have a shot in the East, and I think I could be a big part of that. I think me, Pat Bev, PJ, we're older guys, but I think we're a good group of guys defensively that can give us an edge. Daniel House, another one. Mm-hmm. That can put us in the contention right there in the East with all those other top teams in the East.
Having played for Nick Nurse, obviously you're very familiar with him. You won a title under him, as you mentioned, in 2019. What makes him a good coach?
He knows his stuff, man. He thinks outside the box.
What does that mean? What does that mean outside the box?
He's not afraid to coach players, and he's not afraid to try new things.
Like what? Can you give me an example?
I'm about to, as you know, we've been in the finals. I don't know if you remember or not, but we played a triangle in 2, which we had never done all season. We played a box in 1. He'll throw a zone in. He'll throw traps in at everybody that you don't expect to be trapped by. So especially defensively, he's grown into that. I think he was more offensive when he first started and became more of a defensive coach the last couple of years. And, muck up the game. He's one of the guys that had made the game tough for Joel Embiid. Joel's had some of his toughest matchups playing against Nick Nurse because of the things that he does outside the box defensively and throwing things at superstars. And also he's a very positive, encouraging guy, builds a lot of confidence in his guys to play freely offensively to where, I played some and shot some of my best basketball, under his, system. So Toronto was one of my best years, one of my most fun years, but one of my best years statistically, offensively and defensively.
So let's go back to that Game 7, the 4-bouncer that wins it for you guys. Kawhi Leonard, of course. Do you guys still win if it goes to overtime? I had somebody who was at the game, a respected journalist, told me that he thought you guys were gassed, that you weren't going to be able to win out in overtime. What do you think? I wouldn't
disagree, man. It's tough to say. I think they had a lot of momentum. If we go into overtime, that would have been a tough battle for us to come because we were gassed. They had the momentum. Jimmy, those guys were still pretty young. Tobias, Jimmy, they had bigger guards. We were still trying to figure it out. We didn't have the size to compete. Fred was smaller. Norm was hooping. We were trying to figure out how to play against their bigger defensive guards and offensive guards. We were getting out rebounded some, if I recall correctly, but it was a tough matchup for us. And going to that fourth quarter, we were up, and Kawhi was leading. He was the one leading us, and he was a little gassed. So that's pretty much what all predicated on it. If he was going to have enough to go into overtime, which I don't know if he missed that shot. But they had the momentum because we were up pretty good, comfortable lead, and they came back to tie it up. And, if we're going into overtime, it was a toss-up, man. I'm not saying we for sure would have won. I give us any time, any matchup, any night, any situation, we always have a chance of winning, especially being at home in Toronto. But I tell you what, that Philly team was a tough ass team, and they had the momentum going into the fourth, going into the last shot. They had the momentum, and those last if we went to extra 5 minutes or so, it's hard to say who would have pulled that one off.
Take me back to North Babylon, Long Island, growing up. What was your childhood like? What did your parents do? What was life like for you then?
I mean, it's a middle-class neighborhood. It's pretty cool. Suburban New York, people think of New York as just all city life and public transportation. We drive there. There's land, there's yards. I grew up there, but I also transferred to St. Mary's High School, where I finished my high school career, my sophomore year through my senior year. But North Babylon, New York, I grew up with my brothers. I had 3 brothers at the time. Later on, my dad added 2 new additions to the family, another brother and sister. So I have 4 total siblings. But yeah, North Babylon, so it was a very suburban, middle-class type area. I played football, very football town. So I played football and basketball.
You were a quarterback.
I was a quarterback. So yeah, growing up, we were raised by both our parents up until a certain time. My mom had left. We were mostly with our dad. We were raised by our dads. From me and my other brother were 11 and 12 at the time. My mom was still around, but we were more to sports. My mom wasn't as big of a sports person. And when they split, we stayed with our dad, and he kind of raised us throughout that time. So yeah, that's how it went. We were 3 boys in single parent household for half of my childhood life, but most of my youngest brother's his life. And I had to figure out how we're going to get to school for free, because my dad wasn't going to be paying for school. But yeah, we ended up with an amazing coach, Tim Cluse in St. Mary's, who was able to provide us with some great life lessons and physical habitual lessons of what it's going to be like on the next level, me and my brother. So he taught us what it's like to be a professional first more than anybody. He was the first guy to teach me how to do things the right way, and then gave me a chance to get to college and get a scholarship.
When did you learn that basketball was it?
I wasn't sure at first, man, because I really love football. I had to make a decision. I know my dad, looking back at it, he kind of persuaded me toward basketball. Like, it's a little more longevity in that sport. It's less physical. It is inside. You're not going to be freezing in the snow or in the cold. It's better on the body. It's not as bad on the body or the mind. There's a lot of things with, the helmet to helmet brain situation. He was kind of worried about me being a quarterback getting sacked and hit by certain people. So he kind of pushed me toward that, but I had to make my decision before I transferred schools around right after 9th grade. And that's when I was like, all right, I'm going to stick with this. And this is it. This is my sport. And I had to let go of football and stay with the basketball route.
You mentioned James Harden before, and I'm going to touch on that in just a moment. So gather your thoughts on that. But first, It's time for our halftime segment. And basically what I'm going to ask you to do is I got what we call a 6-pack, and I am going to ask you to choose between 2 things. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
NBA fans, the wait is over. Basketball is back, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is celebrating with an unbeatable offer. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets for throwing down $5 on the NBA. Win or lose, it doesn't matter. You'll start the season with an instant dub. And with DraftKings parlays, everyone's got a shot at even bigger basketball wins. String together multiple bets from the same game or build your parlay across multiple games for a shot at making your payday even sweeter. Basketball's more fun when you're in on the action. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code ZUMOFF. New customers can get $200 in bonus bets instantly for betting just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code ZUMOFF. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, licensee partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/basketball. Terms for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms and responsible gaming resources. Check out our friends over at Philadelphia Sports Nation, a local Philadelphia sports site covering your favorite teams across blogs and social media. PHLSportsNation.com. Philadelphia Sports Nation, PHL Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience.
Philly cheesesteak or Philly soft pretzel?
Philly cheesesteak.
Center City or South Jersey?
Center City.
Gritty, who's the Flyers mascot, or the Philly Fanatic?
Philly Fanatic.
Meek Mill or Hall & Oates?
Meek Mill.
The Dr. J Sixers era throwback or the Allen Iverson Sixers era throwback?
That's a tough one, man. I do like both of them very much so. I'm going to go because I'm a big Dr. J fan. I was an Allen Iverson fan too, but I'm going to go with the Dr. J one. But I do like the silky black Allen Iverson jerseys that they had during that time. But I'm going to go with the Dr. J one.
Yeah, Doc's a Long Island guy too, for that matter.
Yeah, got to.
Yeah, there you go. Last one, Liberty Bell or Rocky Steps?
Ooh, Liberty Bell.
Okay. All right. My music library. I'm going to give you a handful of artists from my music library, the 68-year-old guy. You tell me if you have any of them or not. Okay, if you have music from any of them or not. I'm going to give you 5 of them. You ready? Alabama Shakes.
I do not.
Very bluesy. Cypress Hill.
I think I do, actually.
Freddie Hubbard.
Do not.
Jazz, horn player. Travis Scott.
Yes.
Of course. Bruce Springsteen.
I do not.
All right. That's it. What's your go-to in the locker room before a game in terms of music?
Man, I'm a team guy, so whatever the team is playing, and sometimes we used to have our own. We used to have our own headsets.
They literally boom it over speakers in the locker room?
Yeah, so before, I would say probably up until about 4 or 5 years ago, guys used to have their own headset and the headphones listen to their own music. But then it became a thing with teams blasting the music as a group, have to listen to it together. In Memphis, it was a lot of Young Boy. Here in Philly, I think they do a little bit of Travis Scott, whatever's newest coming out. But I was surprised that we do have more in common than I expected. But I do know my dad's an old school guy, so I wasn't sure if he had some old school R&B.
Oh, I do. Yeah, your dad and I would probably match up perfectly.
I grew up in my household, so he still blasts it to this day, all his old school music. So I listen to it quite a bit, We talked
about like Biggie and Snoop,
like the Isley Brothers, or
Isley Brothers. Okay, I'm there as well.
Marvin Gaye,
Temptations, Motown, all that stuff.
Yes, all that. So
all right, well, have your dad call me. We can compare. We can compare notes.
For sure.
I got to ask you about James Harden, and I look. I'm not necessarily putting words in your mouth because I've seen in public you, as a player would, you empathize with his position. I'm not going to go there. But what I am going to ask you is, here's someone who doesn't want to play for the Sixers. He's contractually obligated, and you're in training camp. You got to get ready for the season. How do you guys compartmentalize that and do what you got to do?
That's tough. And I said it's weird, but it's something that I've been through numerous times at this point now. I've done it in San Antonio with Kawhi, and I've done it with Ben when I was in Philly the first time around. Now with James. Obviously, this situation's a little different than those because I think he has good reason to be very upset. I'm not saying the other guys don't, but I think his, to me, is more like relatable than Ben's situation was a little different. Kawhi situation, injury different. It was different, so I didn't know what was going on with Kawhi. But you got to just, as for me, it's me focusing on me and our team, what we have with me, and I also at the same time, James is a brother, he's a teammate. Trying to balance that at the same time is hard to do, and trying to be empathetic towards it while moving on. So we have to focus on us, move on, and try to win games with the group we got. In the same breath, try to get James on board and try to get him and Daryl to find a common ground because they're both great guys. We all call them friends and family. Sometimes family, butts heads, and then they have fights. And we know that we can use James. James will be a great addition he's great for us. So we need him. And as a player, you always want the player to get what the player wants. You know what I'm saying? You want to fight for the player, regardless. It's a tough situation to balance. It's tough to, I guess, maneuver around it and maneuver within it. But the main focus is, for me, stay healthy, make the team, keep my teammates positive, stay on board, win games. Then the second mission is, how do we get James and Darryl together on board, where we get James to buy in and be a part of us and want to win with us, and hopefully also get what he was somewhat promised, whether they may not come to a full term with it, but try to also get Darryl on the page where we got to meet some type of compromise in the middle. You may have had some type of promise. You may not well reach that promise, but you can come close or get halfway to it. So that's tough. And obviously a lot of people look to me as a veteran and leader, but I'm still just another guy on the team trying to make the team. So I may not have as much juice or say-so or power, but I can talk to Joel about it. I can talk to the guys about it. And Tyrese, we can all kind of configure PJ how to maneuver and make what's best for the team. And because when we have everybody together, it could be a really special group. We could do something special for sure by the end of the year. So we have a lot of challenges and tasks on our hand.
Yeah, for sure. At 36, certainly that helps you to become a leader. I mean, guys look at you. Yeah. They know you've won plenty of rings and all that. And I want to ask you one question related to that. But how do you lead when you're not the 20-point per game guy? You know what I mean? You're just a guy playing, X amount of minutes per night, typically off the bench, that kind of thing.
I feel like it's easy. I feel like it's hard. I feel for those superstars and those guys that night in, night out have to be the best guy every night. Well, nothing's easy in our league for sure, but it's easier being the role player and being able to lead and trying to be the messenger, the middleman between, superstar and coach, or role players and coach, and trying to get messages across, especially when I have won before. So, I'm not out here looking for me or for my own. I want to see other guys win and do well. I'm not here in a selfish aspect of, I need to start, I need to play a bunch of minutes. I do have something to prove to myself. I have nothing to prove to anybody else. So I'm not going out there saying, I need to score or shoot this many times. I need the ball in my hands. I just want to win. So when I'm in that position, it's easier for me of trying to find a common ground for all parties and be positive for my teammates and push them, but also let the coach staff know what's going on, what we need, and what this person may need, without, having my own ulterior motives, because I don't have any ulterior motives except for winning. But yeah, the job for a guy on the sideline to be positive every day. When you're in the NBA, it's Christmas. It's easy. There's no complaints. It's a blessing for me to be able to keep playing for this long and be a part of another group right now in year 15. So I'm just happy and humbled by that. So my part of the job of keeping the locker room at peace and guys positive and encouraged and keeping their confidence, especially in a place like Philly. I know it could be tough. Because the fans, will waver at times. You got to be able to weather the storm with the fans, with the game, with the city, with the season, with the playoffs, with the coach staff. Things may change. So, I've been in many situations where I can be a helping ear or give some advice to a lot of our group in that locker room for us to be and stay steady and confident.
You touched on a number of themes that are characteristic of winning teams, and you owned 3 NBA rings, 2014 with San Antonio, Toronto, of course, in 2019, the Lakers, the bubble team in 2020, even won an NCAA title as a senior with North Carolina in 2009. Obviously, you have to sacrifice to win. We all know that.
Yeah.
But the question is,
I've been in some great spots too.
Okay. But the question, Danny, is we're all prisoners of our own ego. Even those who claim not to have an ego, you have an ego. It's what drives you. How do you get people to see the light and to put aside their own agenda?
Oh, we got to lead by example. And I think that I learned that at an early age, being with Coach Tim Cluse in high school, him not allowing me to have ego, being with Coach Roy Williams, being with Pop, them not allowing egos in any way, shape, or form in their systems, their organizations. So it's easy for me to adapt to. And I'm going to say easy for me to preach, but it's easier for me to be able to tell somebody to do something that I'm able to do when I'm not leading with an ego, or I come in without an ego. And like, this is the reason why I've won, because I don't have an ego. I don't care about.
No, let me correct you.
And
You have an ego. You keep it under control, because we all have ego.
possibly.
I mean, that's
my
just the
ego
way I
goes
feel
to an
personally.
extent. Yeah, for sure. I think we all have an ego in certain aspects.
Sure.
When it comes to basketball, I know who I am. I know what I can do, but I don't think I deserve or entitled to anything. I do think I'm good enough to be in this league. I do think I'm good enough to play and give some good minutes and support the team. Now, the coach staff may think differently. Either way, I'm going to go out each day and prove that I can do that. And regardless, that's not up to me. It's their decision. But on the other end of it is, I want to win. So that takes precedence over me proving something to a coaching staff or a city or fans, as being part of a winning group. And I've learned that throughout my years. And that's taken a huge precedent over everything else, which is why my ego is very much under control, or very much not at the forefront of, my priorities. So it's easier for me to be able to preach it or give advice about it when I'm able to walk it and talk it, when I show, like, this is why I've won, because I don't come in with I don't expect. And this is why the people around me who I play with, this is how they operated. Timmy, Tony, Manu, Braun. This is why these guys are so successful and win, is because this is how they operate. And I can show that within myself and tell them what my experiences with people, and hopefully let it sink in. That's what it starts with. And then, hopefully guys will follow suit. And for sure, I think there's a big reason why a lot of guys in that locker room, they respect me. They respect it, and they want to know what it takes. They want to learn, and they want to see how, because it's hard. Winning is not easy. There's nothing easy about anything in our league, especially winning. So for me to walk in and they see that I won, they respect it. They want to learn and want to know. And I think that's the first step of getting your teammates respect and your coaching staff respect, to be able to voice your opinion, and them to also try to, follow suit, and not just understand it, but try to, I guess, incorporate it in their play or in their games.
You mentioned Ben Simmons earlier, and I've asked a number of players about this. We see players with physical injuries, and we get it. They're in pain. They can't perform. But what we don't recognize is mental health, and how that can limit a player, or really anybody. How do we change the conversation?
Of
people respecting the fact that mental health is an issue, that and players are no different. They're human beings as well, and that sometimes you're not performing as well, or you do require intervention, because, like any injury, you require intervention for mental health.
It's sad to say, man, but usually the only way the conversation changes is if something traumatic happens, especially in a city like Philadelphia, where they're known to be tough on their athletes. And like I said, I repeat, there's nothing easy about being an NBA player or any professional sports in any city. Playing in a city like Philadelphia, where the fans, blue collar fans, they are great. It's a love-hate relationship with them. So I love the fans that showed me so much love when I came back from my knee injury and I was playing for Cleveland. They gave me a standing ovation, which was amazing. And the fans that are happy that I'm back when I signed. Now, there are some fans that are not happy. There's going to be 50-50. You're going to get some that are great ones, and you're going to get some that aren't. And as an athlete, as a human, it's tough to deal with. And people don't realize that we're still human, regardless of how much money we make or how good we are in sports, until they see you do something human-like, where something traumatic happens in a situation with a Ben Simmons, where he needs help, or somebody hurts themselves, or something crazy happens. I hope to God none of that happens. But I hope the conversation changes before that happens. But sadly enough, I think more people will take it more seriously in certain cities that are tougher when traumatic situations happen. And that's just our world. Our world is a crazy place.
The truth.
They don't. So a lot of people, say all, but a good amount of people don't respect other people's professions or their line of work or the stuff they're going through. Even when we talk about the bubble, you guys were in a resort. Yeah, I understand, but nobody said it was prison. Nobody says a third world country. We just said it was really hard. It's not easy, regardless of what place you're in for 100 days. How nice it is, it's going to weigh on you mentally when you have to get up every day, get tested, and do physical activity. people aren't as empathetic until it happens to them or until they see something serious happen that might dramatically change their perspective on, the topic.
Got a couple more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, you good?
Yeah.
You touched on something when you were talking about the bubble, reminded me of the fact that, and again, this is viewing players as something other than human beings, and the salaries and the luxuries and all of this, but there is still the pressure to perform that each and every night for a player. People don't realize, sometimes you can go into a game, you can be averaging 20 points and you're not even sure you can get 20 points that night or for whatever reason.
Yeah.
What do you need to tell the fans about what it's like being a player in that regard and the pressures you face?
Just like you said, we're human. They're going to be off nights. There's going to be off days. Even, when you go to work, for people that have regular 9-to-5 jobs, there's going to be days where you just don't care to interact with people, or you just may not be on your P's and Q's. You may forget something. You may forget an assignment. You may mistype something up. Mistakes happen. And even more mistakes happen when your job is a physical, performing type of job. It's hard to physically perform every day a certain way and be at your best every day. So even the best in the world have off nights and really bad nights. It just happens. So, we're human, and you got to recognize that and realize that. And I know a lot of Philly fans may not like this or want to hear this, but I think you'll get better results and better performance from your team's players if you took a different approach.
What would that approach be?
Their approach, I think,
more
and
positive?
It may work for some guys. Yes. So some guys, they get on them and then they play. They think it builds results for them. That doesn't always work for a lot of guys, and then you realize it and you take them for granted when they leave and they play better somewhere else. Maybe if you took a more of encouraging approach and not try to crap on every guy that had a bad night, or whenever they have a bad night, you waver and we should get rid of this guy, trade him. Instead of doing that and try to build them up and say, next game, we're here, we're still your fans. We love you. Even in the cities that I played in that had great fans, there's always a small group of people that were going to talk crap. But for the most part, it was encouraging. When I was in Toronto, unbelievable encouragement. In San Antonio, they said there's a small group, unbelievable encouragement. But I feel like Philly, you get better results if they took that approach, and more guys would be welcome and open to coming there. You might get better players to stay there. You might get better players to come there. And you might get more wins during the regular season and playoffs if guys were mentally in there, right? And it's hard to stay mentally stable when you're in an environment where you're constantly critiqued by everything around you.
I'm going to ask you one more question, but I just want to add to what you just had to say. Just somewhat in defense of the fans, the Phillies signed Trey Turner from the Dodgers as a free agent. He was having a miserable year. And then suddenly one night in August, they gave him a standing ovation amidst all of his issues, and he became the hottest player in baseball. So I just want you to know that there is some
changing. Okay.
There is some room in the hearts of Philly fans. But
I'm
got to
looking forward to seeing that.
What's that?
I'm looking forward to seeing. Hopefully they do it for us. And I'm looking forward to seeing that this year.
There you go.
So I love to see that. I love to hear that. And I said, it took a turn for me where I saw some change when I came back I wasn't a Philadelphia, I was a Cleveland Cavalier. And when I came in the game, I didn't expect to get the ovation that I got.
There you go.
And it showed a lot. It was a lot of love.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of the reason why I was like, you know what? Even though I had a love-hate relationship with some of the fans there, Philly is a place that I can call home, and they accept me as a Sixer, and they see that place as home for me as well. So it's just an easy adjustment to be at a place that's familiar.
One last question. How will you know it's time to stop playing?
I think my body will tell me, and then my mind. As I don't think my mind will go first. I think my body will first. And my mind is, I'm going to keep fighting and keep showing and proving I'm able to do. There's nothing that I can't do, regardless of how old I am. I'm going to, push the envelope. So I think my body will tell me. Also, the mind, as each day, my mind will be like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this to yourself? The recovery. I'm sure my family will tell me, but when I'm not able to get up and down that floor like I am now, then I'll know. And when I'm step on that floor and I feel like I'm out of place, then I'll know. I can't keep up with these young kids anymore. It's a young man's game. And I don't know if I have the wheels anymore to do it. I'm not fast enough to keep up. But if I still have the speed, still get up down and get a shot off and shoot, get to the corner, play defense and slide, keep somebody in front of me, that's good enough for me to be like, all right, I can still keep playing this game. But once I'm not able to do that anymore, then I'll be like, I think it's time to hang it up, or, be on the sideline doing a coaching type of player, coach type role.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe do that for a year. But if not, I'll hang it up and either go into media or assistant coaching. Who knows? But that's probably what's going to happen.
I'm sure you got room in the drawer at home for a 4th NBA ring. Maybe you get it this year.
Let's hope so. Yep. Always got room for those.
Danny, thank you so much for your time, and welcome back to Philly, my friend.
Thank you, man. I can't wait to step on the floor again as a Sixer and hopefully get a good cheer from the fans and perform well enough for them to continue to cheer for me for the rest of the year.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to this episode of Fresh 24. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts.